Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone from around the world. Thanks for joining the Workspot webinar. Hey, we jumped on just a minute early to kind of warm up this webinar. We will get things started in just a bit. It's great seeing people coming in from everywhere. We can see that attendee list coming in. Hey, and just to let you know, we want to hear from you guys today. So there is a question box down below as we're cranking along. Don't save those questions for later. Ask your questions as we're going, okay? We appreciate that. I am Brad Peterson, Field CTO at Workspot. Been here for a long time, 8.5 years, I believe. Holy cow. And hey, before this, I was at DocuSign for a couple of years. Before that, 10 years at Citrix. So very familiar with the VDI and the DaaS world. And boy, we're going to go into a lot of great information on how Workspot fits into that world today. Now, joining me today is Bill Tompkins. Hey, Bill, how you doing today?
Hey folks, how are you? Bill Tompkins here. I'm very new to Workspot, and like Brad, I spent a lot of time at Citrix. I was there for 15 years, but I've been in the EUC space, if you will, for about 27, 28 years now. So I have a lot of experience from building, planning, designing, as well as selling and trying to architect different solutions with all size customers.
Excellent. So you've got some expertise on the line today for sure. So feel free to rock us with some questions. Now, you know what we're going to do today? I'm going to pop into the agenda. We're going to take a look at, and by the way, 30 minutes or less. That is the duration of the webinar today. We're going to take a look at the current EUC market and all the challenges that are out there. We're definitely going to jump into Workspot and talk about what we do and how we offer it. By the way, we're hearing from folks every single day that our Citrix customers are all VMware Horizon customers that are looking for alternatives. We're going to talk about why that's the case and then exactly what it is that we do and how we've been providing that solution for some time. So that is the Workspot platform, okay? And then that is going to sort of culminate in some live demonstrations that Bill is going to provide to you guys today. Okay, so if you do have questions, fire when ready. Now, we're going to also ask you questions, and so I'm going to start off with a polling question. The question is, so what are you guys using out there? Are you using applications? Are you using desktops? Is it a mix of those? So if click on the radio button that really represents the most, and by the way, it's not just what you're using now, it's also where you plan to be. So this is where we really want to go, a mix of applications, desktops, mostly this, mostly that, or all of this. Go ahead and pick those that make the most sense for you guys. And I will then close that poll. And I got one more question to ask you, okay? And this one is, okay, with those apps and desktops, where do you host those? Is it mostly on-prem data center and maybe a colo, or are you in a cloud? Or, how many of these apply? You can click multiple boxes here, right? So that's the idea. Multiple boxes here to tell us not only today where you are hosting all of your applications and your desktops, but also, the notion of where you'd like those to be. All right. Okay. And so today we're in the corporate, data center, but we really want to expand into GCP or AWS or Azure. Click all the buttons that really apply to you today and to where you want to go. All right. So this helps us because as we go through the content today, it kind of gives us context of who's here and the sort of information that would be most useful to you. We've got calculators that are online that allow you to figure out the infrastructure costs for all these clouds. And so we can share that with you at the end of the presentation. Sound good? All right, so we've got a lot of colo going on here and then a little bit of cloud. That's what we're looking at today. All right, that sounds good. So let's just jump right into this deck now, okay? We know you guys are being challenged out there. We've been around forever, okay? So we know a lot of the folks that are running VDI and DaaS today have also a lot of experience in this space, and the world has changed and it's becoming a little frustrating for you. There's also less talent out there, so folks retire and age out, and you certainly aren't seeing new young guns coming in understanding VDI. So what's the challenge here? You know, if you take a look at the stack on the left-hand side, what you see here is this is typically, you know, this, yeah, exactly, Bill, that's a rain cloud there, because you guys had to build this on-prem or in your colos, you know, networking, storage, servers, you know, the hardware, and then you had to put your VM layer in, okay, and then your VDI layer in, and then your networking layer, and maybe even your DEX layer as well, monitoring the whole deal. Well, you know, pricing has gone kind of crazy in the world of VMware vSphere, was Broadcom has come in and purchased this technology and the products, you know, a PE firm, and they've done the same with Citrix as well. So kind of Citrix and VMware are actually gone as companies. And now you got Broadcom and CSG, which are totally different offerings run by totally different groups of people asking for not only significant amounts of money, but 3 to 5 year commits on the contracts. It's kind of crazy. So pricing gone up, trust has gone down. Now, if you look at that stack and you guys are looking around everywhere, you might find point solutions for each of these. Enterprise browser capability, maybe a DaaS moving into the cloud capability, maybe even sort of FinOps, looking at how do I manage those costs in the cloud. It's kind of crazy, right? And then even monitor everything with DEX. So the interesting thing that you'll know is that if you take a look at those point solutions and you go to other vendors, you might find something, but you should know that Workspot has developed all of those capabilities within the architecture, okay? And that is what we're going to talk about today. And this could be a surprise to some. You might not know this, all right? So look at this diagram here. Now, legacy means that for years, this is the way we ran things, you know? We had a VDI desktop, maybe some apps coming out of the data center, and maybe, you know, moved a few things into the cloud, but mostly it's a full-on CapEx expenditure that you guys have been cranking away at, all right? And you can't really, you know, access that on your phone so much, so it's really a laptop with some extra monitors, and that's the world. There's a lot of expense there, and sort of utilization is pretty low because you build it out for peak load, but how often do you hit peak load? All right, so that's legacy. Now, what happens in the modern world? Well, we would think that you could actually use your phone quite a bit more, because you can not only not just use VDI, you could use an enterprise browser. That's what EB is. You could use a secured enterprise browser on your phone and access things like email and various other things and be very productive on your phone. Secure access to corporate email, right? Now, you might want a bigger screen or multiple screens, so you grab your laptop. But on that, you're also potentially going to run an enterprise browser to access email, Zoom, Teams, Salesforce, ServiceNow, OneDrive, Workday. You know, the whole thing is all browser-based. And when you do that, you're not using any infrastructure. You're not using any VDI VMs or any infrastructure whatsoever. But on occasion, you might launch that virtual desktop. And if you launch it in the cloud, you only have to pay for the resources when you're using them. Now you want to use Windows native PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and maybe even some CAD applications. So away you go. So that's pretty cool right there, right? So look at the savings associated with this, okay? That's the idea. Now let me ask you guys, before we go any further, one more question here and ask you, like, what is your biggest challenge with VDI, right? Is it the cost? Is it the complexity? Is it security? Now you can click on 2, maybe 3 here, okay? And it could be observability, like what the heck is going on in there? What's the user experience? And so on. So go ahead and pick those top 2, maybe 3 that are most important to you, okay? All right, and by the way, keep those questions coming. You know, I got Scott Kaplan popping in. Yeah, he's a run partner and very interested in your technology, and he saw us at the iGel event a couple of weeks ago. So that is amazing. So Scott, let's connect after this and figure out where we go from here. Now, you know what? Thanks for popping that information in. I'm going to close that poll and even share those results right there, okay? So you can see how amazing that is, right? We've got, you know, user experience and cost as some of the most important. You know what's crazy? Years ago, as I would ask this question, it was always security, you know, and obviously you have to have security, but it's really about cost, user experience, and then simplify this thing. Well, this is perfect because that's exactly where we're going to go in this deck and this presentation and the live demos coming up, okay? All right, so listen, cost, right? User experience. We cover them right on the screen here. So look at that. The VDI cost model of the legacy on-prem model was build the whole thing, CapEx, have it for, for full max load, but you could never utilize it to that, between 10 and 2 every day, but certainly not in the morning, the afternoon, the evenings, or the weekends was it being used. So you were losing really sort of a lot of money there, and you had that huge investment. So we're suggesting 2 things. You could move the VDI portion where you really need a desktop to the cloud and save 80%, because with just in time and just enough provisioning, you're only really going to use it and pay for it while you're using it. And oftentimes you don't need to publish a browser, because that's just going to be the enterprise browser that is securing that and delivering it. And there is no infrastructure cost for that. Another opportunity to save a ton of money. And the good news is, user experience, right? These are the 2 things that are most important to you. You're going to save money, boom, and I got to have a good user experience, bang, all right? And so that's what we've got here. This is the Workspot client. Now with the Workspot client, you can see all these icons. You click any one of these icons and you're either going to get an enterprise browser experience, or you'll get a virtual desktop or a virtual app across any cloud, on-prem, wherever you want it. It's all integrated into one space, okay? Now, 2 things we're going to focus on, the things you asked for, believe it or not, which was cost and user experience. Well, we're going to make the CFO happy by reducing cost by 80%. And that's what we talked about with just in time, just enough, and various other things. Now, the users are going to be happy because we're going to give them the best possible user experience. So how do we do this, right? Purpose-built AI-driven mechanisms, all right? And so what we have here is usage forecasting, which I'm going to show you in a minute. We can predict exactly when your users are going to need an actual VDI or DaaS experience and provide it to them just in time and only just enough to keep those costs down. And when they're not using it, boom, it goes off the clock and you stop paying. And for keeping the happy users, we have baked into the Citrix client an interface that asks them how things are going. Are you happy today? Is there a problem? They can give you direct feedback. And not only just a 1 through 5 rating system, but they'll type in a message that says if there's an issue or if they're having a great day. And when and if they do have an issue, we have so many tools to figure out the root cause analysis and fix it right away and get them right back on their feet. Keep them as happy as possible. Huge focus there for us in these 2 areas. Now, how do we accomplish most of this? Well, it's because if you take a look at this bottom area here, we got the agents on the client, agents on the gateway where that network traffic comes in, and agents on the VM itself back in either the data center or in the various clouds of choice that you have. And it is going to monitor every 30 seconds any and all activity and transactions and communications that are going on in here and report all that back. And it goes into the products called Workspot Watch, real-time monitoring, and Workspot Trends, which is trend analysis over a year. Based on all that information we get and blending AI into there, we can accomplish all the usage forecasting, the just-in-time, just-enough provisioning, and so on and so on and so on. It's a great thing. Now, what's key here also, and this is a surprise to most people, is the fact that we can save you this much money by not committing to an actual desktop of full time for a full month for a full user, okay? Take a look at this. On the left side, contact center and AEC design. So this is a CPU and GPU that are non-persistent. If you move over to the IS pricing, you can see you can get these as low as 20 cents an hour or even 75 cents an hour for a GPU. It's crazy. And if you look at the monthly cost associated with using those about 6 hours a day, that's going to be less than committing to that resource for that person on a 24-hour basis. So it's the way to go these days. Again, just in time, just enough. Now that works for persistent and non-persistent, as you can see in the chart there. In the persistent world, there's just an extra $8 a month charge, typically plus or minus, and that's because if it's a persistent desktop, you're going to actually save its state while they're not using it. It's kind of like taking a laptop and putting it into hibernation mode. You got to dump memory and various things onto the hard drive. So you do the same thing on the cloud when you suspend that VM, and that is used for persistent CPU and GPU. So it's a beautiful thing. So all sorts of money can be saved if you manage this correctly. And realize this, Workspot gives you the white glove treatment. A lot of folks don't have a lot of experience in the cloud. We've got tons of it in Azure and GCP and AWS, and we will apply that to our commitment in our support to you, white glove. You actually acquire the infrastructure yourself, get yourself the best discount, and we come in and glue it all together and make it work and make sure that it's provisioning and distributing its resources, and they're fully monitored also. You don't have to have a lot of experience here at all. We will help you do that, and that's just the name of the game. We've been doing that for a long time, okay? Now, let's take a quick look into the tools that are used to monitor all these capabilities. Now, just in time, you can see right here, just in time is we want to make sure that you are set up so that when the users are starting to look into, clicking that button and launching that desktop, that it's ready to go. So we model this whole thing, and you'll see how we do that in just a minute. That's just-in-time provisioning. Now, if you also shut something off because you're no longer using it, you don't want to pay for it, well, they don't always shut off. APIs are driven into the clouds, and if a resource actually misses that API or doesn't shut down, you're going to find out at the end of the month that it's still running, but not with Workspot. We're going to give you those real-time alarms and let you know there's some COGS out there, cost of goods sold, that are still running that shouldn't be, and bring your attention to it so you can make sure you turn it off. And that is a great thing. Hey, and Karsten, man, thanks for your question that's coming in. Do you have any reference architecture documents that you can point me to? Absolutely. We will send you guys not only a copy of the recording of this thing afterwards, but then some information, additional information, including reference architecture and various things like that. Plus, we can also set up a call with you guys one-on-one and go through this even in greater detail just for you. Okay, now excess capacity. This is definitely something that you want to avoid also. Now look at these curves here. The blue humps that you see on there, that's how we provision for this particular customer, okay? And then the red areas is like, oh, it was a little over provisioned. So we learn from that, and we actually minimize the red portions as we go forward based on AI. Okay, to make sure that it's all driven accordingly based on optimizing the spend. And you can see that here. You got blue active users, you got orange is historical forecasting, and then you got the future forecasting that's coming. So you can see how these things line up on each other. I can even see next week what we're forecasting for usage based on the patterns that we've seen. And so we can see how well we're doing against that, and the AI models can be adjusted, which then creates a heat map, right? So that the heat map, you got the columns here, which are 7 days out of the week. You got the hours coming down here, and you can see it gets more and more intense in red when there's more people using their virtual applications and virtual desktops. So we can see this, we can model this, and then we can have these ready to go when we expect those users are coming. So it's just in time. It gives them like a 10-second response to getting their desktop up and running. And remember, it wasn't running at all a moment ago. You weren't paying for anything. Bam, it's up, running, they love it, and when they're done, click, boom, we kill the thing, and we hibernate it or suspend it if we have to, if it's persistent, or we just get rid of it if it's non-persistent, and the meter stops running. You stop paying for it. It's a beautiful thing. Customers just love this capability. Over and over, they tell us that, okay? Well, now it is time to go ahead and see a little of this live and in color, right? And so I'm gonna pass the baton right on over to Bill here, and he's going to show you a thing or two in control, watch, and trends. Hey, Bill, you all warmed up and ready?
Hey there, folks. How are you? Bill Tompkins, as Brad said, we're going to go through all three components of the infrastructure today, which consist of Workspot control, watch, and trends. And as you can see, I'm logged in here to control. So for the folks that are out there and they're used to some other VDI or DaaS type environment, just wanted to go through this and show you, quite honestly, how easy this environment is to use. So if I look at control, I come through setup, I can see where all my cloud infrastructure is set up. If I want to look at any of these, I can edit any of these, look at where they're home to. Look at my gateways configuration, certificates if I have any. If we're taking any of our information and we're sending it out to Splunk, if we're looking at SAML and any other identity providers out there, all in one place. So this is truly a one-stop shop if you're looking at it for a DaaS environment, right? Come on to resources. So these are all my desktop pools that are sitting out in my environment, and this environment right now is a demo environment. if I, for instance, open this, one thing I can see is I've got 10 workstations sitting out here. I have all the information that I need to know about the workstations within this desktop pool, where they are, what type of cloud they're sitting on the backbone of, what type of a VM, what type of instance, is it power enabled, number of desktops, and as Brad was talking about from a money perspective, is it persistent or non-persistent? Is this going to be hibernated, or is this something that when we turn it off, it can get dumped and kind of sent away? So we have desktop pools, global pools, app pools, applications. So here's another thing for the people that are using XenApp out there. We can also publish applications. We can assign them to bundles. So if you've got nurses, doctors, finance, traders, things like that, we can place these applications into a bundle and then provide that bundle out to the users. If we wanted to look at creating a new application, we would simply choose what type of application it is, fill out this information. Are we routing through a gateway? What cluster? Choose anything that we have in the environment, which is all set up from the resources tab, and then choose the bundles in which I'm going to add this application to. Add the application, and now it becomes available for that user. And that can be a web application, and that could be a Windows FAT application. Also, in the one-stop shop, we have all our users for the environment and all the groups that pertain to these users and what their roles are. Now, policies is one of the most important ones that we have here. It really starts talking about how we're going to have the session interact with our users. And if I look at this one, this is our AE security policy. From a client perspective, we can also dictate how we're going to interact with the client and how the users get to interact with that client. Online authentication, are we going to require dual-factor authentication? Offline access, utility rules, things like that, protocols. So are we going to enable copy and paste? Are we going to enable drive sharing and things like that? So posture checking, Windows posture checking. If we want to check for certain Windows builds, the minimum build, if we want to look at, for instance, enabled firewall, I'm going to deny this, and I'm going to say, I forgot that I could send a message for my users to say, I'm going to deny your access to this application or to this desktop because we've seen that your firewall is not enabled. We can do the same thing for services. If it's a corporate machine, we know that there's going to be a process name or a service name that's going to be running that's been initiated by the organization. So we can dictate, we can either warn or deny here, or don't check for that matter. And the same posture check, a little less intuitive for the Mac, but we can dictate what minimum Mac iOS or Mac OS X version is being requested and required to access these desktops. And then we go to reports. So we can launch trends and watch. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to watch first. And watch really is it's a real-time observability tool that's really focused in the now. So as Brad was saying, we can start looking at everything that's going on in this environment. If you have a NOC, if there's different monitors within your NOC, you can now see the critical alarms within your environment. You can choose to resolve them or not resolve them and be able to trace those down. Look at it from a desktop perspective. Your gateways this is going to allow you really to understand how the environment is performing and potentially get out in front of any help desk calls. We can look at our map of our service providers, our cloud service providers that are sitting in the area, see where people are. We can look at the different pools in the area, what pools are having any type of an area, and so on. So that's Watch, and I'm not going to go into great detail with Watch because it is real time. Now, if we go to trends, now we start looking at historical observability. 365 days, we can go back. Right now, we're looking at the last quarter, and this is just the summary for this company. We can look at it from a sentiment perspective. What's our average rating? As Brad talked about, we can set surveys within our client. So when users log out of an environment, we can ask for a survey. How is the survey going? What do the customers think of the overall performance and productivity of that environment? You know, from a summary perspective, we look at total users, active users. We can see a nice graph here showing how many users are in the environment. So we had 1,000 this day, a little over 1,000, little over 1,000, and so on. So we can generally see how the environment is going from cloud usage, from desktops. But one of the most important pieces of trends is looking at sizing. What are the users with oversized desktops and undersized desktops? What you're going to find here with an oversized desktop is this is costing you money that you technically don't need to spend. When you have users with oversized desktops, we can probably reduce that desktop size, and the user can do exactly what they're doing or what they're tasked to do with their day-to-day job description. Now, undersized desktops, we start looking at this criteria. What's happening with these users? That's probably where we're getting some of the lower ratings from, because the desktop is not sized in an adequate manner, or potentially not placed in the right place. And we'll see some of that in just a minute. If we go to the sentiment, we can see we have a lot of feedback here from users that is a number, you know, a 5-star feedback. And then we have some insights here where we have a 1-star feedback, and we'd probably want to dive into these users and see why it's a 1-star feedback. But what we can do is we start looking at desktop sizing, and we'll wait till this comes in. Now, these undersized desktops, we can do undersized and oversized here and look at them side by side. But these undersized desktops, these are the people that we actually want to understand what that workload is, and are we actually sizing these desktops in a manner where the desktop is able to allow that user to do their jobs. So if we go to pools, we start looking at sentiment here, and I look at it and I say, well, desktop pool 3, we're having a less average rating here. And if we come through to the sentiment from a company perspective, what we're seeing is typically pool 3 here is less than the average. And if we come through metrics and start looking at some of the metrics that we're seeing from this environment, we can start understanding where pool 3 is from, you know, CPU utilization, memory utilization, bandwidth, and that type of thing. If I look at, for instance, if I come through here and look at pool 3, my average round trip time for my UDP, which is probably unified communications, maybe if I look at this, 201 milliseconds, 143 milliseconds. If I look at this guy, 282 milliseconds. The sentiment that's actually being portrayed by demo pool 3 might be because that pool might be in the wrong place. We might have to move that pool to something that's closer to those users. Brad also talked about looking at a heat map. We can start looking at excess versus usage. This is historical information for this environment. I know Brad showed a picture, but this is, you know, looking at excess usage or excess machines versus utilized machines. We can start seeing now that the we have a lot more excess machines on demo pool 3. If we start looking through the heat map from a usage perspective, we can understand in a much more detailed environment where our users are starting to enter the system and where the critical use is for that system. So maybe during these hours, we have more desktops available for our users, and just in time and just enough. But if we come down here from the excess perspective, now we start understanding where we could start saving some money. We have more excess machines than we need in the environment sitting out here as it pertains to the actual utilization of the environment. So I'm going to stop there, Brad, and
yeah, that's great. And we have a question that just come up from Karsten. And that question is, are you compatible with company portal deployments, iTunes, Entra? Yeah, we have a bunch of integrations that are out there our customers are doing already. Certainly Entra ID, Intune. We've got folks doing ServiceNow integrations with a ton of automation and so forth. So let's talk, Karsten, about what you guys are trying to accomplish, and we will show you exactly how to do it. And to finish up our story here right now on the last slide, we also, if calc.workspot.com, have Azure, AWS, and GCP IaaS calculators. So if you're really trying to figure out what it would cost you, you can check that out right there. Now, let me go ahead and launch my final poll of the day, and that's to ask you guys, tell us how we can best follow up with you. Do you guys want a copy of the webinar recording? Do you want some extra reference architecture documentation? Do you want a pilot? Do you want a follow-on meeting? It's up to you guys. Just click away, let us know, and we will follow up in the best possible way that works the best for you. And you can always reach me if you want to send an email. brad@workspot.com is the simplest way to reach out and make sure we get you guys what you want. So good. Yeah, go ahead and fill that last poll out, okay? And thank you for that. And what we're going to do is we're going to close that out, and we are going to pop back to our summary page here and thank everyone for attending today. We definitely appreciate your time. And we also want to definitely thank Bill, because, hey, Bill, this is your first webinar, man. You just joined, but with 27.5 years of experience here, you just killed the demo, man. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Brad.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. Expect a follow-up email from us, not only on the recording, but also from whatever you guys asked for in the survey. And you'll also see another an invite coming up. We've got several different webinars, certainly a monthly webinar like this. We have another webinar coming up in a couple of weeks that's Workspot and iGel together. So we'll send you that invite too if you're interested in that combination. And if there's anything else you need, just ask and let us know, and we will be happy to follow up. All right. Well, have a fabulous day, everyone. Take care and talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.